Winter Olympics at Sarajevo, an exclusive 7 event. All the best Sandy Roberts and the 7 team to send you money well spent. 8 weeks it is to Footy 84. Life in the town when we hear the crowds roar. Love all sport, always will, and that goes for our compere. A big welcome, Bill.
Thank you very much, Douglas, and good morning, everyone, and welcome back to you, Doug, from his holidays. Doug's back live today. Almost, anyway. We've had a very big Saturday of sport, and we've got another big day of sport coming up tomorrow, of course, highlighted by William Reid Stakes Day at Moonee Valley. But we saw a very interesting cricket match yesterday in which the Pakistanis nearly brought it off and put themselves back into strong contention.
Yes, they did, Bill. They seemed to have just a little bit of an edge, particularly, I think, Kadir, the leg spinner over the West Indies. They really did just fail to get up in a cliffhanger. 8 for 177 versus 9 for 180. Javed Miandad taking the catch there. Rachid, the bowler. What a magnificent delivery, that one from Kadir, the wrong un. And he really has enjoyed a lot of success in the one-day internationals. Just 4 one-day internationals to go now. Australia on 7 points, the West Indies on 12, and Pakistan on 3, but still Pakistan not out of it. Australia would have to lose 2, Pakistan would have to win well on 2. But a huge week in cricket. It really has been a massive week, Bill.
Right, Max, do you think it's time David Boone was given a bit of a chance?
Well, as an ex-Tasmanian, or a Tasmanian, whatever you like to say, I think young Boone probably was unlucky to be injured. I think a mid-season lull there. He started off the year magnificently with a 96 and then a double century against Victoria. And of course, for all to see, the spotlight of world cricket journalists at Canberra to see in the Prime Minister's 11 magnificent 134 runs. And I think in that match he showed the sort of ability and class necessary to succeed at international level. And I don't think it'll be very long before David Boone does get his chance to represent Australia. We've got interviews coming up later in the show with Tony Dodemaide, one of the nicest young men I've seen come into cricket in a long time, and a very, very good bowler. Greg Matthews, on the other end of the scale, doesn't lack confidence. One of the, well, the characters in the game of the future, I believe. An incredible interview with that young man. Shield cricket too. We've got Victoria, New South Wales at the MCG, and Victoria in a lot of trouble in that one. The game well placed up in Queensland with the Queensland Western Australia game, and sensations in the Just Jeans Cup with South Melbourne being bowled all out for 23 in an hour and 13 minutes and still getting up and winning the game. And Lenny Balcombe returning 13 for 65 to guide Footscray home against Northcote outright. So a crazy week of cricket, Bill.
Right, 2 questions. I want a yes or a no only to them. Should David Boone get into the finals?
Yes.
Will he get into the finals?
No.
Okay. Let's go to racing yesterday. Sandown standing up to the great traffic they've had down there over recent months, particularly well. A fast track again yesterday, and a thrilling finish in the 5th race on the program.
Silver Cossack led, Major Diamond going to it comfortably at the 300, a length and a half. Plem, Roycroft, Baracus the outside. On Grand Vitesse looking for a run, and further back Forbidden Favours. Celso can't win, but Major Diamond strode to the lead with 200 to go. He raced about a neck in front of Silver Cossack. On Grand Vitesse getting out and flying when it looks to be all over. Major Diamond in front on Grand Vitesse, coming over the top of it on the outside, and it'll win. On Grand Vitesse in the last stride, grabbed Major Diamond. Maybe third in the race, Silver Cossack.
The quad rally yesterday, 7811, $297.60. Big carnival on in Adelaide at the moment. Started yesterday with the Queen of the South, a thrilling race, Keith Hillier.
Yes, we saw another very exciting finish, Bill, with the Colin Hayes trained filly, Casey Bell, at 16-1, grabbing victory in the last few strides. He is the Queen of the South Stakes.
Into the home running, Casey's Bell leads. Miss Marcher, the challenger from Hello Shady out wider. Then came Joy's Mantle, further back Lady Twiggy. Maiden Century down the outside, and they're followed well back by Montrose Lass. It's Miss Marcher going to the front of the 100-metre mark. Casey Bell trying to go with it. Kenny Owie coming late from Special to Be. Joy's Mantle. It's a great go near the inside. Casey Bell fights back. It's 1.5 head. Casey Bell is 1.5 head to either Special to Be or Miss Marcher.
Great finish, wasn't it? Casey Bell at 16-1 and a dead heat for second. Miss Marcher at 16s and Special to Me at 9s, Bill.
Well, Harold Park on Friday night saw the running of the Miracle Mile. The race turned into a bit of a schmozzle which is frequently the case in these types of races at Harold Park. Nowadays, Harold Park is just not the track for Miracle Mile races. Anyway, here's the final stages of the event.
Heads them up. On the inside, the danger Thorlow with Thundernoon down the centre of the track. On the inside, Double Agent. Thundernoon trying hard. Double Agent, Thundernoon. Double Agent, Thundernoon. They go to the line very hard. Double Agent won it. Beat Thundernoon. Thorlow third, followed by Tempo Cavallo. Caramilla Duplicity second last. And Pro Chevalier, the favourite, is the last one home.
And the winner of the race, Double Agent, a 12-year-old, he did a good job. The favourite, Pro Chevalier, was more or less out of the race from the start. He couldn't begin with him, and then every time he made a move, something happened to him. Of course, we've got the Inter-Dominion coming up in Adelaide shortly, and it has also received a lot of criticism from the press over the selection of the horses. It seems that many Adelaide horses have been given a run that have much inferior form to the interstaters. We'll talk about that perhaps a little. Thank you, Collins. Very interested for married men to notice that Chris and John Lloyd, when they married, John Lloyd was 30th in world ranking, and within a few months he dropped to 356th. So you can really say that a love match turned into a tiebreaker. Here's a heartbreaker now, Lou Richards.
Well, Bill, I must say this straight out now. If I keep on playing mixed doubles with my wife, we'll be breaking up. It's a very difficult game playing tennis with your wife. And I know other games that's very difficult with your wife too, incidentally, but we won't mention those. But I must say this, about 4 weeks ago I said that Abernathy would be playing with Collingwood. Well, I've changed my mind. He won't be playing with Collingwood. The mere fact is that North Melbourne want too much money for Abernathy, and Collingwood have tightened up their purse strings and they won't pay the money, so I think that Abernathy could be playing in South Australia with a bit of bad luck for the Magpies and for North Melbourne.
Thank you, Lou. A bit of money last night in Tats Lotto. I hope you got amongst it. Let's have a look at the numbers now from last night. And it was 6, 17, 25, 32, 34 and 40. That's in numerical order. The supplementary number was 33. Division 1 prize, $1.698 million. Just a small piece of that would be nice, wouldn't it? Super 66, 712-626, 712-626. You're watching World of Sport, originating from Channel 7 in Melbourne. Well, it's going to be marvellous. February the 8th it starts, and Sandy Roberts is going to be there to host it. And Sandy, no doubt you're looking forward to this.
Yes, Bill, I certainly am. I have memories of Moscow with you and I having minor problems with the language barrier, but we did get over them.
Yes, one of our great problems there, of course, was going into Red Square. You had to change trains, and the only way we could work it out, not reading the language, it looked something like typewriter chair, the station, didn't it, where we had to get off. Are you going to have problems with the language there, do you think?
I sincerely hope not. If I do, I won't be taking the underground. I'll go by bus.
Good. I noticed the chap there, when he was talking about it, said the involvement of the people of Sarajevo, Sandy. How involved are they? Are they involved financially at all? Have they got right behind it?
They have been, Bill. In fact, 96% of the population have put in the equivalent of, from their wages, $10 a week for the past number of weeks. And when he mentioned that at a cost of $135 million, the original budget was $160 million. So at the moment, they are well under it.
Right. I also noticed in some of the reports that there are over 2,500 miles of cable have been laid, and over 900 people from ABC in America who will be sharing their pictures, of course, on a lot of occasions, have been over there for many months. And, of course, they'd have to lay a lot of these cables before the snow came down, wouldn't they?
Well, they haven't had a lot of snow. There's been a lot of varying reports, Bill, about snow. In fact, there was one alarming report from Sydney suggesting that the games may be postponed, but that's not the case at all. They were officially opened 3 days ago, and on that particular day it snowed and started snowing heavily, so conditions are just right at the moment.
Now, Stephen Lee is one of the people that we'll be looking forward to at least give a reasonably good sight for Australia.
Yes, I spoke to his father on Friday, Mr. Bob Lee, and he is very, very confident. Stephen hasn't been out here for the last few years. He hasn't seen an Australian summer for the past few years, but he finished 10th in a World Championship, and that really did stun the Europeans, because the Swiss and the Austrians, they, as far as they're concerned, are unbeatable. Stephen, though, has been training with the Swiss, and just to give people an idea of how good a talent this young boy is, the Swiss team recently asked him to leave the team because he was making the Swiss boys look like also-rans.
Really?
So he's had to switch over now and join the German team, who are not as strong, but I'm sure he'll give a very good account of himself.
That's very exciting news for Australia,
My
really,
word,
isn't
it is. I think people don't realise, and particularly the other thing, Bill, if Stephen Lee does get a medal, it's probably a bit like a Russian weightlifter coming out and playing on a wing for Carlton in the premiership side.
I thought they had two already. What are going to be the most exciting as far as you're concerned?
Well,
I'm looking at it now from a viewer's point of view.
Well, I think, you know, the family generally loves to sit back and watch all snow sports, the ice skating because of its elegance. The downhill is the blue ribbon event. It's like the 100 metres in the Summer Olympics. So the downhill is going to be exciting. And because of that element of risk and the element of danger, the luge and the bobsled are going to be marvellous as well. And then, of course, you've got the ski jumps. They've all got their own fascination.
Well, it's one of the interesting things about it, I believe, on the final day after the ceremony, that all the visiting commentators are going to get into the bathtubs and they're going to send them down the luge.
Well, look, I've got news. I could be coming home a day early.
Oh, could you? OK, well, Sandy, we know you're going to do a great job for us, and we're looking forward to all the excitement that you'll be bringing for us from February the 8th.
Thank
Certainly
you, Bill.
are, Bill, and we've got two of those at home.
Two of what at home?
Luges. And they've got seat warmers on them too, Bill.
Are they good?
He hasn't changed a bit, has he? Not a bit.
Anyway, it'll be a great night's entertainment from the 8th to, how long does it go for?
8th to the 20th, 3.5 hours.
Well, that's
every
12
night.
days. It'll be fantastic. I'm quite sure that you'll make us proud, Soundy, because it'll be a great show.
Thank you,
We're
Lloyd.
looking forward. Would you like you to take a bottle of champagne from Thomas Hardy, have a celebration after the games, or not before the games? And there's the Jockeys you wanted, the entertainment from Valentine.
Subtle as a step.
Yeah, and of course, we'd love you to have this magnificent Exacto Olympic T-shirt. It's a size 22. It's Uncle Doug's, but you can wear it as a 92 when you get cold there for night time.
Well, master of ad lib hasn't changed. Thank you, Lloyd.
Well, one
Good
thing
luck,
about it,
Sandy.
slightly different from Russia, you don't have to take bath plugs, soap or toilet paper. Good luck, Sandy, and
Thanks,
we'll look forward to your telecast. Thanks, mate.
Oh, it's a real big night Friday next, harness racing, Moonee Valley. Harness racing salutes the Olympics with a special fundraising effort. Pam Kilburn, Denise Boyd, Ian Brown, Judy Pollock, Charlie and Rendina, they'll all be there. And by the way, first-class racing too. The Victoria Harness Racing Club Cup, the Sire Stakes Repechage, and the Network 10 Stakes. Yes, it's a big Olympic night at Moonee Valley, harness racing, Friday night next, first race, 7:50. Be there.
Long talks with promoter, an old smooth swinger in his own right, Tony Charlton.
And you're so right too, Billy. What handicap are you on, Tony?
I don't have one now. It's a disgrace. Haven't put a card in for about 10 years.
You better concentrate on it. Let's talk first of all of Metropolitan before we ask you a few more pertinent questions that Bill raised in his intro there. Metro's been suspect with condition. How's it?
Yes, I think we've been spoilt over the years because it's such a magnificent venue. Well, we've had a few problems, but I think they've been quickly overcome by a lot of input and industry. They tried to get rid of the poa annua on the fairways so that the couch would take greater hold and give a greater foundation for the fairways in the future, and I think long term that was a good plan. But it rather devastated what was there, and there's been an effort to get them back to something like Metro form, and I'm glad to say they have come on magnificently in the last couple of weeks, and I think Metro will be at about 97%.
Oh, that's okay. I heard yesterday, actually, the greens themselves, they're perfect.
Oh, the greens are perfect, and the tees too. The tees probably better than they've ever been, and the greens as good as they've ever been. The fairways, 3% down.
I'll have to come back. Tony, innovative is the right word for you, with ballyhoo, if I may use it, pageantry and presentation. What have you got for us this year?
Well, I think the tournament will run to high standard again. That's our obligation, that's our responsibility, and we have a marvellous team there in order to dress it accordingly. We have a record entry for an Australian tournament once again. The 386 entries of last year has again been superseded. 405 have entered for it this time, as Bill indicated. 280 pros and 180 amateurs, something like that. And only 144 of them can play, so it's going to be a very busy qualifying day on Monday the 8th, when, Monday the 6th, when I think 3 courses, Rossdale, Keysborough and Long Island, will be used to come up with the final mix.
Yeah. Before we talk about the sponsor problem, because that's very important to you, Craig Stadler is your player this year. You've adopted a policy of one big name for your tournament, and the board say it, Stadler for the Victorian Open. You're happy with that policy now, at this stage?
Oh, entirely happy, but also, of course, it's a condition that's forced upon you by the economics. I mean, we don't have an endless budget, but it's proven to be an attractive thing, and I think the other element is that, fortunately, all of those that we've brought out over the years, according to this philosophy, have played well. We haven't had a failure amongst them. They've either finished in a tie for first and been beaten in a playoff, as was the case with Arnold Palmer and Gary Player, or they finished in the top 3 or 4.
What other players will we see at the Victorian Open?
Well, of course, Greg Norman makes his first summertime appearance in Australia. We're looking forward to that, and he's in pretty good form. He's been practicing hard. Incidentally, you'll be interested, as a technical man, he's changed the length of all of his clubs and the swing weight of all of them. He says the only thing that's the same is the grip size and his putter.
I assume you mean another half-inch longer?
Well, I don't know. They might be shorter. No.
Be very interesting to find out.
It will. And Bob Shearer, defending champion.
Multi-sponsorship has been something that I would say you've been innovative with. Are you happy with it? Do you think there's a future in that? Or because of your sponsor trouble this year, do you see that there's another style of golf tournaments coming up?
No, but I think there is room for both, and I think the high rollers will still be present, and there will be solo sponsorships of golf tournaments in the future. But because of the escalating cost, I think you have to break the burden.
You think that there could be a big one-off sponsor again?
Yes, I do.
I would have thought money would just prevent that.
No, I don't necessarily rule it out as something that will occur in the future.
All right, I want to cast your mind back to something. You I regard as an authority, and don't grin at me because I do. You are an authority. We accept you as such. Kingston Heath was the home for the Australian Open. Except for Bob Charles blowing his top about the putting greens at one stage, the remarks were very kind. Do you think it did rate as a club course suitable for a National Open?
Oh, no question.
Well, how does it rate with one
suitable for a World Open? Magnificent course. And I think that was the problem, that the criticism came chiefly from sources that hadn't had exposure regularly to courses of that standard. Now, Bob Charles, whom you mentioned, would be an exception to my comment, but by and large the criticism was from those who, as I say, hadn't had exposure to demanding courses of that kind for a long time. There's no question that Kingston Heath was not only magnificent as a test of golf, but magnificent full stop.
I asked you before about Stadler. It took you, what, back 12 months when you made the arrangement to take Stadler, so it's a gamble. Talking of your sponsor problem now, when did the sponsors either drop out or not confirm?
Well, that's been a gradual problem that we've been facing throughout the year. I mean, no time is lost, as every promoter knows, in trying to gather the resources to mount the thing to the standard that you want. And it's a great disappointment to us that we haven't been able to achieve the backing this time that we've been normally able to achieve. Now, there are several factors. One of them relates to the economic situation. There's no question about that, as almost every business in Australia understands. And the time hasn't arrived yet, despite the better economic indicators, whereby companies can feel at ease that the profits are going to return, whereby they can make appropriations for promotional activities.
Your own future now, I did not actually see the press release regarding, but I believe you have resigned or have been dismissed. Which is it, from the AGU as far as director of their golf?
Oh, I don't think it matters much in terms. There's been a separation of the understanding there, and the less said about it, as far as I'm concerned, the better. Australian golf will continue, unabated, I trust.
Okay, what's your future? What are you going to do?
We're entitled to expect something a bit better.
What are you going to do?
I have no idea. Don't know. But
I've got some lawns need cutting.
Yeah, well, I'm a candidate. I'm a candidate. Lou's got a bag here, so I'll go packing.
Well, before
I've got a bag here. I've got a few bags around too.
Tony, before Louis
Sorry,
comes,
darling.
who are you talking to?
I don't know.
Before Louis comes in, I would like to say one thing to you. I've appreciated, on behalf of myself and the Channel 7 boys, the courtesies you've given us. Now, for example, at Kingston Heath, we ended up with our OV van sitting out the front door of Kingston Heath, and another director could have said, jump out of the road, fellas. You didn't, and you gave us a chance to get all our interviews done quietly and the best conditions. I thank you, and I trust the courtesies will continue. Just keep that in. But no, we at 7 have appreciated what you've done for us.
And also, Uncle Doug said you'd never look back since he took you out of 3AW at Clemence's. Remember that now? He said he was this little library, a record library boardish, and I plucked him out there and made him what he is today.
Well, let me... I had the pleasure of working with Doug and Tony.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
At Clemenger Advertising. I was there with these two good gentlemen in the days pre-television, right, Tony?
Yeah.
Righto, Col.
Doug Elliott taught me and most people in the business more than anybody else ever has.
He'll love that too. He's a great man, Doug, for himself most times, but doesn't matter. There's the Grand Reserve champagne from Thomas Hardy, as Jack Dyer calls it Brut. And you've also got the entertainments from Valentine's, the Exacto shirt, that's the Olympic shirt, and I think you'll enjoy that. And Tony, you've always travelled first class, as Colin mentioned before. And Tosca travellers are always first class. And we're not having a go at you, but from Valley Seas, there's a bit of oversold for you, right? Just plant that on the top. And I'll tell you what, it'll be a lot cheaper than Harry Beitzel, truly.
Very special guest and one of the nice guys in golf and a very proficient golfing director, Tony Charlton.
With his turf comment, just back from New Zealand, Australia's leading racing journalist, Jack Elliott.
Well, the New Zealand breeders had their biggest ever year when they gathered in a record of $19.2 million for their yearlings at an average of $49,710,000 last week. Last year, they sold their yearlings at the national sale for $11 million at an average of $32,000. So you can see what a wonderful year they've had. And no wonder the champagne corks popped after the sale, and most Australians there nearly had their hands shaken off for buying their yearlings. Some of them with crooked legs, pigeon-toed, cocked eyes and everything, but they're still supposed to be a selected sale. But I wonder how the New Zealand owners felt when they raced their horses in 5 of the 9 races for the prize money of only $3,400 each, that's New Zealand currency, on Wellington Cup Day. And that's not as much as some of the country clubs give here in Australia. Now, the aggregate and the average for the yearlings will always continue to increase each year, as long as the Australians have the money, and Mr. Hawke says we'll always have that, but the stake money for those 5 races on Wellington Cup Day have not increased 1 cent in the last 5 years. Also, the Wellington Racing Club will have to do something about the facilities, which have been the same since I started going to New Zealand some 23 years ago. After the second race on Cup Day, there was an announcement that all races would have to be put back 15 minutes because the totes could not cater for the huge crowd. Too much confusion, the crowd, 16,000 people. Imagine that. There was 18,000 at the test match on the same day. They didn't have a tote there. Of the 16,000, I would say only 10,000 saw the Cup. The others, watching it on TV, standing on tiptoes, or letting somebody else tell them about it. The club also came under extreme criticism from the local owners and trainers, and rightly so too, because they spent $6,000 to have Veloso brought from Australia for the people of New Zealand to see the Sydney Cup winner. Now, that would have been all right had Veloso run in the Wellington Cup, and even if he had been beaten, it would have been all right. But he didn't run in the race. He ran in 2 sprint races, ran second last in one. Great advertisement for Australia. The idea is to finance another Australian horse each year to go to Wellington, but I must say it should be a Cup horse, and a Cup horse only. And I can tell you one thing, that a day out at the Wellington Cup is no fun. Apart from seeing some very good horses, it's a horror.
Now, big men of Melbourne, have we got a bargain for you? Famous Van Huysen short-sleeve business shirts, just $16.95. That's right, Solway, the big man store, are clearing large-size Van Huysen shirts for a mere $16.95. A big saving on one of Australia's best-known brands. Lots of other specials. Sports shirts at $15. Crestness Banlin shirts, $18.95. Knitwear, $35. And the big address for these bargains, 292 Brunswick Street, near the Johnson Street corner. Fitzroy, Solway for bargains. Solway for the high and the mighty.
Well, Pat Hyland, who is the president of the Victorian Jockeys Association, came out with some very strong words this week. He said that jockeys, or senior jockeys, are being forced out of the game by the handicapping system. Now, Pat, is the situation really that serious?
Yes, Keith. I believe it is. You know, I think this is only probably a start of it. The way apprentices are getting the bulk of the rides, as we noticed there's apprentices look like running first and second on the jockeys list this year.
Well, Pat, let me halt you there. This situation may be seen by some people as sour grapes by yourself and other senior riders. The fact that two 18-year-olds, Darren Gauci and Craig Dinn, are ahead of you all on the riding list. And bearing in mind that Darren Gauci no longer claims.
Yes, well, I don't think that's correct. I've got a son that's an apprentice jockey too, Keith. So, but the whole thing is that when the minimum weight for races were 6 stone 7, the top weight was 9 stone, or 57. Over the years, it's gone up. They've continued to go up from the bottom. Now they've gone up to, in some cases, 51, 50 and 49. That's roughly the overall. But the top weight is still 57.
So what's the solution, Pat, to increase the minimum?
Well, no, the minimum has to stay. The weights are too compressed now. The handicapper can start off at 50. He has to start off at 57. He can start off anywhere above there if he likes, but handicappers seem loath to give horses any more weight than 57, or, you know, in a lot of cases, which means the weights are compressed to such an extent that when you have a 51 bottom, you've only got 6 kilos between top and bottom. There's the weights are not spread out because you finish up with a lot of horses on the minimum. Usually a third of the horses will be on the minimum, where if the weights went up to a 60 top, you'd find that it would go back to what it used to be 10, 20 years ago, where the weights were all spread out, and many more horses in that middle bracket.
So although the 60 top that you're arguing in favour of, trainers would probably claim with that weight, but you're suggesting that there'd be more horses around the 54 kilo mark that would be ridden by senior riders.
Yes, you know, I don't think that by taking the tops up, that is going to be detrimental to apprentices, because I believe that's probably going to help them to some degree.
Right.
But it will help jockeys. It'll help racing as a whole, because what's happening now, you've got horses like Galleon and those horses that are getting in with 57, 57 and a half. Colin Hayes claims 3 kilos on them. And then you've got, in another case at Minnie Valley recently, Warnock had 55. They claimed 2.5 kilos. He had 52 and a half. Whilst he got beaten, he was beaten by a horse called Battered Braid, who had 51 and had won 2 races of his last 3 in the city. Now, he was 1 kilo over the minimum.
Pat, has this situation only just come about?
No, we applied for this to the VRC some 18 months ago, and we're preparing another submission at the moment to put it to the VRC, because, you know, I think it was 2 years ago, Sovereign Red, who had won, he'd won everything going in the spring,
right,
was given 57 kilos in the Newmarket top weight. Now, he didn't run, but then if he's got 57, you finish up with nearly half the horses that are entered will be down on the minimum.
Right, I'll ask you a blunt question, Pat, and I know that you're not one to evade it. Are you blaming Jimmy Bowler, the VRC handicapper, or the general handicapping team?
I think they're concentrating too much on computers, Keith, instead of using common sense. And in the actual fact, as far as I believe it goes, if a trainer or an owner complains about his horse having too much weight, the handicapper will then try to give a reason why he's got too much. If he's got 57, he says, well, I had to start off at 57, I couldn't give you any less. And if the bloke on the bottom complains, he says, well, I couldn't give you any less, that's the minimum. So, you know, it makes life much easier for them.
How many senior riders can ride at 50 kilos or less?
There's, of the top 20 jockeys on the jockeys list, senior riders, there's only 2, Gary Doughty and Michael Clark, that can consistently ride at 50 kilos or less,
right,
possibly without wasting. I don't think that there was anybody really that could ride even 50 without wasting. And wasting quite hard. Robert Heffernan can ride 50, but he has to waste fairly hard to do it.
Right, and finally, Pat, if you'll excuse me, Lou, you're also asking for a $5 pay increase or riding fee increase. At times tough for jockeys, Pat.
Well, have you had a pay increase?
No, not recently.
We haven't had one for 2 years either.
It's been 81 since your last pay increase.
2 years ago. 2 years, February 2 years ago. But, you know, we have to live too. I mean, we buy gear, petrol's gone up, we're travelling to meetings. You know, just because training fees have gone up over the 2 years, farriers' fees have gone up, float fees have gone up, strappers' wages have gone up. You know, everything's gone up. So I dare say we're just as entitled to it as... The only problem is as it doesn't go up automatically. We have to fight for it.
Fine, Pat, you talk to Lou, I'll pass the hat around.
Anyway, money's not the most important thing in your life, as long as you're happy, Pat.
Thanks, Lou.
Only thing about that, the only other wealthy blokes seem to be the poor people saying it, do you? Bottle of Thomas Hardy Grand Reserve champagne. I think you enjoyed that, Pat. And we hope, because you're a man of strong character, and we hope that you win your cause, and I know you will, and you've always travelled first class, and there's a magnificent Tosca suitcase, and as we've always said, Tosca travellers first class. How about that for you, Paddy?
Pat Highland, the president of the Victorian Jockeys Association.
This Saturday, 7 takes you live to Moonee Valley for a great day's racing, including the prestigious William Reid Stakes, carrying prize money of $50,000. Racing from Moonee Valley, live and exclusive to 7 Sport, 12 noon Saturday.
Valentine, the natural choice in cheese, present the Roller Cycling Derby.
Time once again for another heat in the Valentine World of Sport Roller Cycling Derby. Our first rider on the red rollers, Andrew Dick. He recently turned professional. He's been the Coburg Club champion 3 times and recently raced in America. On the yellow rollers, Ian McGeoch won the Victorian 50k point score championship in 1983, won a stage in the 1983 Sun Tour and finished 4th in the Hang 10 points race against a top international field. They'll be back for Heat 8 in the World of Sport Valentine Roller Cycling Derby in just a moment.
Valentine's vintage tasty cheese has stood the test of time. Only the very best goes into Valentine's vintage cheese. No compromise. Only the best. Look for this pack, Valentine's Vintage Tasty, at your supermarket. Buy it, and you're #1 with your family and friends. Barbecues, fussy tables, sheer enjoyment. I unreservedly recommend Valentine's Vintage Tasty Cheese. Yes, it's a wonderful product. Another entertaining idea from the House of Valentine.
Andrew Dick on the red roller and Ian McGeoch on the yellow roller. This is the final heat, Heat 8 in the Valentine World of Sport Roller Cycling Derby. David Masterson from the League of Victorian Wheelmen ready to set the boys off.
Your riders ready?
And a pretty even start with Andrew Dick making a slight break after 110 yards. 4 laps of the board, and the times will decide the quarter-finalists. After 1 lap, Andrew Dick just a few yards ahead. Moving pretty well, just turned professional. McGeoch looks to have some in reserve though. Dick leading by just a few yards. Heading up towards the halfway mark. McGeoch catches him. There's only a yard or 2 in it. McGeoch very close. In fact, the boys dead level. McGeoch takes the lead. McGeoch by a yard or so. Opens up that lead now. Looks to have too much experience. There's the bell. 1 lap to go. McGeoch doing it fairly easily now. Opened up a big lead now. 220 to go, and Ian McGeoch in the yellow, moving well away, and he'll get through to the quarterfinals. A good run will get the time. 1:08.45 for Ian McGeoch, 1:10.94 for Andrew Dick, and at this stage over to Lou Richards.
Can we have the time, Stephen, if you don't mind?
We just gave the times, Lou.
Yeah, but we can't hear it over here.
Well, Ian McGeoch 1:08.45, Andrew Dick 1:10.94.
Well, congratulations, Ian. He had you going for a while, didn't he?
You bet he did.
They couldn't stand the strain, Andrew. A bit too much. How do you feel, all right?
Oh, a bit puffed.
Bit puffed. I don't know why. It was an easy ride, wasn't it? It was a pretty quick time, David.
It was. That time will just about qualify Ian for the finals, Lou,
Well,
I'd say.
well, that's great. Well, congratulations, Ian, on winning the heating today. And, of course, as David said, you could go into the quarter-final. Is that right?
That's right, and they start next Sunday, Lou.
Next Sunday. How about that? For winning, you get this magnificent Valentine's Vintage Tasty Cheese plus the entertainments. And, of course, You lost, but we'll do the same for you because we like you. Got a kind face.
Thank you.
Like a cow. How about that, eh?
The Roller Cycling Derby was brought to you by the House of Valentine.